Hey there, it's Stephanie Shea, astrologer with Jan Spiller Astrology here with your November 2025 astrological overview. I'm seeing November as a good month to make some steady progress on projects and goals that have already been started. This is because Mercury will be retrograde most of the month. I'm going to get into that in just a minute. The other things, headlines for the month. Jupiter, planet of luck and opportunity, will be stationing retrograde along with Mercury. Uranus is also retrograde all month and moves back into the sign of Taurus. The bottom line is that this month's astrology isn't encouraging rapid or spontaneous change, but we can feel successful when we patiently follow through with current plans. It will also be a great month to revive projects from the past and wrap up unfinished business. Now, September 5th, Uranus stationed retrograde in Gemini, initiating a cycle that will last until February 3rd of 2026. Uranus in Gemini represents innovative thinking, particularly in the areas of technology and communication. While Uranus is retrograde, changes are often developing behind the scenes, and we may not see the results until after it stations direct next year. We have Uranus transitioning during this retrograde back into the sign of Taurus on November 7th, and it will stay in the sign of Taurus through April 24th of 2026. This is going to be the final Uranus in Taurus tour for a while. So Uranus in Taurus can indicate changes to the economy, how we do business, and even beauty standards and cultural values. During Uranus retrograde in Taurus, which is November 7th, 2025 to February 3rd, 2026, we could experience some instability in the stock market as well as overall economic growth. It will be best to be conservative with our spending during this time and avoid risky investments. In our personal lives, we can use the days of Uranus retrograde in Taurus to reassess our lives and determine if we're living in alignment with our values. It's possible that money will feel less important than our time and the freedom to engage in the activities that bring us happiness. Uranus rules the unconventional, and while it's in Taurus, we're being encouraged to accept ourselves and others without trying to adhere to uniform standards for all. Relationships, personal expression, and self identity will also be strongly focused under this astrology. Now we've got Jupiter in Cancer, stationing retrograde November 11th, initiating a cycle that will last until March 10th of 2026. I see Jupiter retrograde cycles as a time period where we feel more success when we create our own luck and opportunities rather than wait for what we want to come to us from external sources. It could be a favorable time to network and collaborate with others, but we're going to need to come up with more ideas and resources on our own. Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, which associates it with emotional growth, improved family relationships, favorable living situations, and even real estate investments. Even in retrograde, Jupiter in Cancer can offer us some good fortune in all of these areas of life. So, worldwide, we actually could see an increase in humanitarian work on behalf of women and children, especially, as well as the homeless population. And fortunately, Jupiter is working in a powerful aspect to both Saturn and Neptune this month. This alliance of outer planets is going to be helpful for developing practical long-term plans and bringing some of our more idealistic visions to reality. We could see issues that have been stalemate for some time finally gaining resolution. And with Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune all in water signs, it's a really powerful month for emotional and spiritual healing. So just because things are retrograde does not mean things aren't shifting or happening. Now, on November 27th, which is the end of the month, the Saturn will station direct ending a cycle that began back on July 12th of this year. During the days Saturn has been retrograde, we've been called to reevaluate our priorities and use of time. Saturn is the ruler of time. Saturn began the retrograde cycle in Aries, a sign related to initiating action, and the days between July 12th and August 31st might have felt especially frustrating for those who are trying to cultivate new beginnings in their lives. Since September 1st, Saturn has been retrograde in the sign of Pisces, which has created a favorable environment for returning to a chosen spiritual practice, brushing up on existing skills, and coming out of denial about our current reality. Now that Saturn will be stationing direct in the sign of Pisces, it could feel easier to take well-planned actions that move us toward a new goal. We'll need to keep in mind that Mercury will be retrograde most of this month, so it's not really the right time to start from scratch. But we could really feel some flow when we are building on our past efforts. Saturn and Neptune will be conjunct, which means close to the same degree of the same sign all month, which could cause us to question reality and start working to determine the difference between what is actually happening and what is an illusion. This is a continued theme I talked about in the October report. So if you haven't watched that video, you can backtrack and check that out. Neptunian energy is highly creative and can sometimes create confusion. But fortunately, Saturn is a planet grounded in reality and the consequences of our actions. So this could be the month anyone who has been turning a blind eye to an important matter that requires their attention will begin to notice the effects of their denial and start to turn their course into a better direction. We've got Chiron, the planet representing inner wounds, continuing an exact square to Jupiter this month. This is also something that was going on in October. It's continuing in November. It's encouraging healing on a global and personal level. However, because a square is a tense aspect, we could feel in somewhat of a healing crisis as we're addressing hidden wounds that may be coming to the surface. We're going to have to be really gentle with ourselves, with Jupiter in the emotional sign of Cancer and Chiron in the self-sufficient sign of Aries. It's possible that some of the themes this month will involve admitting when we need help and being willing to exchange support with others. Both the signs of Cancer and Aries can tend to want to be in charge and may see accepting help as a display of weakness. But actually, what we can do to best work with this astrology is think about interconnectedness and celebrating each other's individuality. Some people who don't feel accepted by their family of birth, for example, or if they've lost an important member of their family, could create a familial connection with the friends in their lives this month. Knowledge, growth, and spiritual connection are all themes of this astrology. And it's going to be a really good time to consider the energies greater than ourselves and realize that we don't have to go it alone ever. This month's full moon will be on November 5th at 13 degrees of Taurus, highlighting our need for security and stability. The emotional energy stirred in the atmosphere could feel a little stiff. There could be these feelings of stubbornness, rigidity, especially if we realize current circumstances are not supporting the larger goals in our lives. I think on a global scale, this Taurus full moon could bring information to light regarding financial agreements, resources, maybe even matters of national security. On a personal level, we could see results from any efforts to save or better manage our money and material assets. However, this full moon will highlight any limitations in our lives that bind us to the bond of a business or personal commitment and leave us without the time to enjoy ourselves and take care of our own needs. We could be questioning how to balance our time better between relationship obligations and activities that bring us comfort and appreciation of life. Now, as I mentioned, the other big headline, Mercury stations retrograde November 9th. This cycle lasts through November 29th. This Mercury retrograde cycle will begin in the sign of Sagittarius, and Mercury will be retrograde in Sagittarius until November 18th. Then it will move on and retrograde in the sign of Scorpio. But between November 9th and 18th, we're focusing on values and beliefs. The timing will be beneficial to finish a course of study or other uncompleted program. Some people may be redefining their spiritual philosophy and reconnecting with a higher power during this time. Sagittarius also rules travel, particularly international travel. Mercury retrograde cycles generally increase the likelihood of delays and miscommunications, but you can certainly travel during Mercury retro. If you will be traveling during this time period, just take care to double check your reservations, allow extra time to arrive at your destination, things that you might already do as a traveler. It's a really beneficial time to return to a favorite location and reconnect with loved ones from afar. On November 18th, Mercury retrograde will move into the sign of Scorpio. During the days Mercury will be retrograde in Scorpio, November 18th to 29th, our attention could be drawn towards long-standing relationship issues that have been suppressed or even an intimate relationship from the past. This time period is ripe for psychological healing and gaining closure on any events from the past that have felt confusing or difficult to examine. It won't be good timing to make financial agreements with others during the entire Mercury retrograde cycle, and especially while Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio between November 18th and 29th. Our energy can be best spent following through with previous commitments and addressing any debt or money owed to us. We've got Venus in the sign of Libra as the month begins, highlighting partnerships of all kinds, including marriage, romantic relationships, friendships, and business partnerships. I would recommend using the first few days of the month to team up with others and make agreements before Mercury stations retrograde on November 9th. Now, on November 6th, Venus moves into Scorpio. That's going to help us enjoy quiet moments with loved ones and one-on-one interactions. I would use these days to get extra rest because once Venus moves into Sagittarius on November 30th, Mercury is going to be direct and our social calendars may fill up as we enter December. On November 4th, Mars moves into Sagittarius, where it will remain until December 15th. During the coming weeks, we're being directed to approach our goals with some big picture thinking. Consider what you want the outcome to be, and then begin researching the necessary details. It's not the right time anyway to move ahead with new plans, but it's a great time to research your options. It will be important to avoid the urge to prove that we're right under this astrology and instead lead by example. Instead of telling people what we think is the right thing to do, just go do that thing. When we're living in alignment with our beliefs, we won't need to argue with others about how they should be behaving. Mars in Sagittarius adds an exciting energy towards relationships, but we'll need to resist any impulsive urges to move too quickly with anyone new we meet. This month, we're being called to make peace with ourselves and get solid in our feelings before taking action next month, when the timing is much better for new beginnings. The new moon this month is on November 20th at 28 degrees of Scorpio. As always, I recommend Jan's book, New Moon Astrology, that helps you use the power of every new moon to manifest what you want in your life. For this new moon, the themes of Scorpio new moon involve intimate partnerships, soulmates, deep emotional connections, commitments, also compulsions and obsessions. Maybe you want to set some intentions to release some of that. Passion, strength, self-discipline, power, loans and debts, contracts. So be thinking of some of these themes as you're contemplating what you would like to shift in your life at this using this new moon energy. I hope that you can make the most of this new moon, the most of this month's astrology, to keep on top of all the astrological happenings each month, including new moons, full moons, retrogrades, everything I recap in these videos. You can get written reminders via email for free if you just sign up for the Jan Spiller newsletter on janspiller.com. All right, have a great month of November, and I look forward to bringing your forecast next month.